All right. Howdy, everyone. Give me 1 second here to get us going on Instagram. Maybe technology. Maybe we're not going live on Instagram today, kids. There we go. There we go. All right. So I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for a little bit of a delay there, but we have some special guests here. Of course, we're joined by Mailman Mike. Mike, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good. Tell the listeners and viewers what you spent your day doing today.
Uh, well, today's my day off. I'm a mailman, as the name implies. So this time of year, it's in the upper 80s. So on my days off, I like to stay in, stay cool, and get rested. So I spent my day just playing Jedi Survivor all day. I was telling Jimmy how stressed out I am from playing the game. You know, all those the scope of the game, the heights that you have to climb to and jump and it just stresses me out. it's not a calm and peaceful pastime, but yeah, that's what I did all day today.
All right. And we are joined by a very special guest all the way from the Pacific Northwest. So,
Pacific
um,
Northwest, yeah.
yeah. So, Kate, how are you? One Scavenger's Wardrobe, which is a clever title. I'm going to go ahead and just open up the floor to you. You can talk about what it is and your Instagram handle and all that and what you do in Star Wars, because I think it's pretty impressive. So, yeah,
Thanks.
the floor is yours.
Yeah. Awesome. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Kate Ryder. I don't know, I kind of do a little bit of everything all of a sudden. I started out with cosplay and got into Disney bounding, which went into, Star Wars bounding. And I do have a podcast now with my friend Billy, and if you've listened to that, we kind of talk about the differences between what is cosplay, what is Disney bounding, well, what is Star Wars bounding, like we have kind of different categories for those. Yeah, and our podcast is new. It's just maybe a month old, and it talks about the fashion of Star Wars. Um, so I'm kind of doing like random stuff all the time, but there is a strong Star Wars undertone, which is where my name came from. My first cosplay, like proper cosplay as an adult, was to put together a Rey look, and because it was Rey, I wanted it all secondhand materials. So it's not technically like approvable. I don't know, maybe I could tweak it, but I just wanted to make sure I could use found items and repurpose. A lot of stuff came off of eBay or Goodwill or something like that. And so that's why I took that name for my account, and that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you guys get a chance, check her out on Instagram. It is really cool because you have all kinds of different like outfits that are inspired, the things you could wear that you're like, oh, you kind of look like an X-wing pilot. And you're like, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to look like. But it's like you could just be out in public without people staring at you.
Yeah, totally. Which is the fun part of bounding is that it's real clothing, right? And then a group of my friends, we have this thing called Burgundy Squadron that was started by my friend Billy, where we're this group that we want to focus on our original characters within the Star Wars universe, because we love the classic characters, right? Like everyone does, but we do, especially Andor kind of brought a lot of us together because we were like, oh, these are peripheral characters. This is something that was happening that nobody's talked about yet. These are people that weren't these famous people in this galaxy, right? That were just coming together and doing this thing. So we really like to use a bunch of us like to use like really common clothes and kind of put them together. And I literally go around all day, every day. The principal at my younger son's school was like, "You're into Star Wars, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "You were dressed kind of like a Jedi last week, weren't you?" I was like, "Yes, true. That was me." So it's a fun way to kind of like sneak it into your real life, right?
Cool.
Very nice. Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah.
Take some inspiration from you, and the kids at my high school will eat me alive, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, well, you know what? A lot of our folks actually are teachers or principals or something like that, and it's pretty funny that they have this kind of rapport going with their students. So try it.
Well, thank you for joining us. Let's say hello to a few people. We got Teresa here. She says, "Hey," or "Yay." We got the Dad Vader. Hello there. We got Mr. Russell Baldwin. He says, "What's up? I'm here to support the Disney shill." He is joking, of course, based on the last time Mike and myself and I think Brandalorian were on here, we got some hate, but it's all good fun. So, Kate, before we get started, we're going to dive into this because we got a lot to talk about. Tell me favorite Star Wars movie if you had to pick.
Oh. Okay, so I know it's tough, right? So do I have to pick one or can I explain it? So like I go back to A New Hope as just what started it all. It has a soft spot in my heart. You know what I mean? Like I remember vividly watching that as a child. And it's just such a special memory for me. And I know that it's not the masterpiece that other things are. And I think that like, you know, everyone's like, oh, Empire Strikes Back, right? Because it was that arc. And then I think with the modern movies like Rogue One, I think was a masterpiece. And because Andor spun off that, and Andor is to date my favorite work. You know what I mean? But like when you talk about like what really tugs at my heartstrings, A New Hope is still my favorite for that reason.
Well, hey, there's no reason, you know, that's what got us all here in the first place. So.
Yeah, right? It changed the world.
Yes, it did. All right. So Dad Vader says, what does he say? He goes, we are the Shill Squad. Yes, we are. All right. Favorite character?
Oh my God. Well, I've had a crush on Harrison Ford since I was like 10. So I feel like I still do love Han Solo. I love that scoundrel. I love that smirk that he has. And I feel like a close second would be Lando Calrissian because he's just as charismatic. I love Billy D. Williams. I just adore him.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, both of you for joining us. We got you guys on the opposite coast of the country. Yeah. I'm here dead in the middle, so we got the whole country represented. Maybe not the
almost the whole time
zone.
Yeah, we're missing one time zone. We'll try to knock that out next time. But all right, so we're here to discuss episode 8, which is cleverly called episode 8. So we're
that was the title.
Yeah. So,
I didn't even notice that.
Very creative.
Yeah, and we'll get into this in a second. It was written by Jason Milcalif. I'm terrible with names. Directed by Hanel Culpepper. This is not the first time we've seen her name. Jason, I do think, is the first time we've seen something by. I could be wrong. Okay. I'm kind of flabbergasted by this episode 8 title. Yeah. Is this a mistake? I mean, I keep checking my phone. Mike and I were on here for a few minutes. I'm like, okay, have they updated it yet? Is it changed? Is this intentional? What do you guys think?
Or like some intern just dropped the ball and just forgot.
That's what I was like, man, I'm getting tired tomorrow morning.
They ran out of money to pay the creative teams at the end.
Or they just ran out of ideas. They were like, yeah, I got nothing. But you know what? The fans just called by the numbers, so let's just go with that. That's really interesting. I feel like it's a typo, but that's just me.
It even says that on IMDb, it says it on Disney Plus.
Really?
It's a little confusing. Maybe we'll see.
I'm looking it up now too.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll wake up in the morning and something will be different. Well, by the time you goes to sleep, it might be updated because I mean it's only
by midnight I'll send you a message and it might be like, no, it's not changed yet. That's crazy. All right, so episode 8. Oh my God.
How did we feel about the opening? We got the breathing, which I thought was this. I thought they did a really good job of kind of going prequels and original trilogy. I didn't see a lot of sequel stuff in it, but they kind of, the starting off with this Darth Vader type breathing. I mean, I know it's not Vader, but how did you guys feel about it? And we can talk about that whole thing. And I also have in my notes, what the hell was that? Who took control of them? So we got that whole opening scene. She's sitting there with the helmet on. And then, of course, she starts to have, I thought maybe that it was possessed, because it has happened in Star Wars with helmets being possessed. And then Chimera comes in and his eyes go black and he has the visions. And he's kind of like in the same place Torben was. He's kind of in that no man's land and Torben's thing. So what do you guys think about that opening? Mike, I'll let you go ahead and start. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was a little confused when his eyes went black there. I'm like, what? Who's in control here? Did it have something to do with, like we'd postulated before? Did he have some connection with the witches? Which after seeing, I don't think he did. So I'm guessing that Osha must have taken control of him in the way that the witches did. It was interesting.
What about you, Kate?
That was actually exactly what I was wondering, if she was starting to tap into the powers that she was born with, essentially, and maybe that there was an internal struggle that we didn't see between them, which I kind of like. Yeah, that was my hypothesis.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what was going on there. But yeah, I was kind of, it was the eyes going black. I was
Mhm.
confused. And we've seen that. We've seen, because I'll give everyone a heads up though. I told Kate this. I rewatched episode 3, then I rewatched episode 7, then we went into episode 8 here just so I could be kind of fresh with all that stuff and to see. Um, but so they're not twins, they're not sisters. And then he gets delayed because he's got this whole conversation. How many times are they going to interrupt Soul telling his story?
The poor guy. He's like, just let me talk.
Yeah, well, and I
Well,
just
they
put
won't
like,
be interrupting him again.
no one
No,
will be interrupting him
unfortunately.
again. Yeah, so um, I just, I was a little frustrated with that. Kind of like it seems like it's the same uh, writing tool that they use for like what 3 episodes. I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, but, and then they
Right.
pulled it again like a 4th time in the span of a few episodes. So let me see here. Dad Vader says if they don't name it, that y'all name the episode. Oh man, that's a
Oh.
all right.
Oh.
Let's go there real quick because
I didn't
that's
know there was gonna be an assignment. I should have come
yeah.
prepared.
Well,
Shoot.
I
Let's go with unsatisfying ending.
unsatisfying ending.
What
Yeah.
I mean, oh gosh. I feel like let me think about this for a
It's got
second.
to be one word though. All the other ones are one word, right?
Yeah,
Well,
was there one called Virgins yet? Like, I feel like that
well,
was
that would have
such
been
a
a good one. Yeah, could have
I
been
feel like that
Virgil.
was such a big thing, and I feel like we're starting to get this. I understand that there's a lot of questions still in the story, but I kind of like that. And I think that Virgins is still a question. We're still hypothesizing, like, were they created by that? Like all that stuff. So
Yeah, we're gonna get into some of that because I have some questions and some
yeah.
things. Russell says thought maybe he went in. This is back about the opening
Oh
scene. He
yeah.
went inside her head, inside the helmet, see what she was seeing. Yeah, yeah, I'm still kind of confused. And again, everyone who's watching, like if you've watched this episode, we've only had time to watch it once and hop on here.
Mhm.
So we're kind of with you guys, and it's the fun
Yeah.
part of this is doing it is a little emotional and just kind of reactive. But
Yeah.
uh, Dad Vader, let's end with that. We'll end with his question if we can remember, and maybe the 3 of us can forget, and we don't have to worry about answering that because that's a tough one. Dad Vader, if you have a title, let me know.
Yeah.
So all right, and then of course we get into our like first real flying scene. How do we feel about the ships and things like that? I think Jack, our regular co-host, he really loves the ships and things like that. Did you guys
Mhm.
like this scene? I thought it was pretty cool, but I mean,
Where they were kind of like going through that like
yeah, when
gray
she
field that
escaped
like
in
yeah.
her helmet, I'm glad they just didn't have a helmet that fit her hair perfectly, though. I thought, like,
Right.
all right, well, that's good.
Right. Yeah, that'd be a little too perfect. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
mean, I liked the visuals of that. I thought it was an interesting take on going through like, the asteroid field, right? Which is kind of a classic thing, but it visually looked a little bit more. It was different and new. I liked that part.
yeah. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you as far as like the ship design and whatnot. I know it's like I said earlier, it's of a different era, and I think they're trying to make it, almost capture like the 50s vibe with everything's kind of bubbly and big.
Mhm.
I not a fan of the look, but I guess I get it. But yeah, I mean the chase through the rings of the planet was pretty cool. I mean, as far as like they've missed the mark on some of the special effects in this series, but I think all in all that scene was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. It's shocking too because typically with these Star or these Disney shows, we get in the trailers we get stuff that's like 1, 2, and 3 episodes in, and there was stuff from all 8
Mhm.
episodes evenly.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised by that they gave us that much. I mean, I guess it wasn't. I mean, it didn't really affect us knowing anything. My next big question for you guys is, what in the hell is Basil doing? I mean, you can say that in almost every episode. What is Basil doing? Like, what
Well,
is?
do you mean like when he was on the ship and when he like
Yeah, so
pulled
like,
the
yeah. So
yeah.
why is he like? Can you guys make that make sense for me? And
No,
then
because
people who are watching,
that was a big question I had. I was expecting there to, something to progress there to be like for some reason why he needed to slap him and there wasn't. Yeah. I that scene was a little confusing for me as well. So
Well, I think Basil was on the ship. He heard this story. I think he realized that Saul was in the wrong.
you think
And
so?
yeah, I think, you kind of discount a character like that because he doesn't speak common. So he's kind of becomes a background character and you don't think about him. But I think he was just in the background listening to everything that was going on and realized it. And this isn't right.
Yeah.
There's something going wrong here, and sabotaged it. Try to give. I keep getting messed up between Osha and May.
Which one he was chasing?
But yeah, just trying to give her a chance to escape.
Yeah. Well, then
Yeah.
I thought that as well at first, but then he was the one who was still tracking for them. So I kind of was like,
Well, I guess he was tracking for the Jedi. Maybe he
Mhm.
wasn't. I mean, still on the Jedi side, but not on Saul's
Yeah.
side.
But on Soul's side, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for
This is
someone
the
to
real
say
Civil
this.
War.
Of course, the dad bait. This is the next Darth Jar Jar. I think for the Star Wars canon, Basil is the real Sith Lord. I think
Be real
you're
cute.
right.
Aw.
Yeah, it was. What did you guys think of Basil overall? Because like really cute. They brought him out of and people complain about Leslie Headland and blah blah blah, and if they can say what they want and all this stuff, but she does bring a lot of stuff out of canon, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But what did you guys think about Basil overall? I don't want to recap the whole season, but just this one character, I guess. Because how did you feel about that? Was he necessary? I mean, he's just comic relief, like just kind of help drive the story forward because he does little things like his little kung fu moves in episode whatever it was, and he
Yeah.
runs. But
I liked him. I thought they missed an opportunity back a few episodes ago when when the Jedi first got to the planet with him. Yord was the only one that could understand him, and I think they missed an opportunity to have like an interaction with him where nobody could understand what he was trying to get across. When Saul ended up with May, there could have been an opportunity there for him to try to explain to Saul, hey, you got the wrong girl.
Yeah.
Saul wouldn't have been able to understand because he didn't understand him. I thought there was an opportunity for that to go down, but
I wonder if there could have been, and it could have been left on the cutting room floor, like I have to go into shows like this where we go, wow, wait, there seems to be a piece missing, and wonder if it was originally planned, but they didn't have time, And I didn't read the book. Have you guys read the book that this was based off of? Or
no,
yeah. So I went in completely not knowing what was to expect. So, and I liked him. I tend to like a lot of the Star Wars characters because I understand that they're trying to just pull in as much as they can, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you go from the original movie where they like borrowed a bunch of aliens from Doctor Who, right? Just they were like, yeah, sure, they look otherworldly. Let's use them because we need something. To like, I was born the year that Jedi came out, so I loved the Ewoks. That was my first, the cartoon, right? That was my first exposure to Star Wars. And I know some people hate them, but I like the idea that there's all sorts of different creatures, great and small, right? That like look different, that act different. But yeah, I agree. There could have been some sort of thing where he was trying to tell Soul, like, hey, wait a minute, like I know something you don't know.
Yeah, definitely some merchandising opportunities there, like the next little Ewoks or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I think so too.
I think my first action figure was an Ewok.
Yeah,
little gray one.
Oh yeah, so yeah. Oh man, I can't think of his name now.
I can't either.
My son, dang it. Okay. So Rayencourt, the mysterious senator. Now that I kind of got psyched up because Star Wars fans, I don't know if you guys know this or not, you probably do, but Star Wars fans are our own worst enemy. And we built up the actor who comes out and shows up to be Rayencourt. I mean, there was so much, and I can't think of his name right now. I'm going to try to look it up while you guys are discussing, but there was so much surrounding who he was going to be, and then he ends up being the senator.
Yeah.
What did we think about the stuff that he came out and said? Oh, there we go. Baldwin's got it for us. Chief Chirpa.
Oh, I was going to say, was it Chirpa?
There we go. So, what did you think about Rayencourt's, what he said about the Jedi? Like, I mean, this is one of the first characters we see in live action say these things. We've seen some stuff in books and things like that. But how did you guys feel about the Jedi being called into question in the real world? Mike and I were talking about this a little bit off the air. The real world implications of what they may not be saying about massive religious groups. We don't have to get too political or anything like that, but what did you think what he said about the Jedi as far as being, disguising themselves? And historically, you look back at, like, this is historically speaking, folks, don't at me, but the Catholic Church during, like, its height and things like that in the 1600s, kind of falling back there. But what do you guys think about that?
You mean going after witches? Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote it all down. I liked it that much. Because, in like our,
You want to read it off for us?
Oh yeah. I mean, he says that their massive system of unchecked power posing as a religion. I wrote it down. Really? Oh, a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable, which, like, I love Star Wars. I love the Jedi. As an adult, I've shifted a little bit more towards it's a hokey religion. How do I feel about that? And my original character, my OC that I play, is definitely not a Jedi, like decidedly not a Jedi. Because I think that is an interesting struggle of, like, who is right? You know what I mean? Like, who has the say of how you interpret this manipulation of the Force. And I loved, going back to the earlier episode where Mother Anastasia was talking to Osha about destiny, right? And, like, kind of being like, it's, you have control, right? And the Jedi are the ones who are saying, no, we've got to tell you how to do it. So I do like exploring this theme of who is right. Yeah,
I think that's what this whole show has been about, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Mike, what do you
Definitely.
think?
Well, I mean, I think I'm thinking along the same lines there. Let's see how to put it. I like the idea of, someone does have to put a check on the Jedi's power, but they're also kind of, I think they're sowing seeds towards the prequel trilogies, building up, the Jedi, they're not, what everybody thinks they are. And, I think they're kind of going that route, just putting those seeds out there.
Yeah, because didn't he even say what happens when, somebody goes rogue and how are you going to deal with that person, basically? And I was like,
specifically said, who will stop him?
Yes.
I thought that was a lot of this ties up to some stuff I want to ask you guys at the end, because I had some thoughts, started bubbling up in my mind. So we'll come back to that, and I wrote, is he wrong? And you sit there and you think about, you think about some of the historical stuff. I don't want to get too historical. I mean, it is my day job. Well, not right now. I still got about 2 weeks or a month, I guess, left before I have to go back. But yeah. Then, of course, we shift back to the unknown planet, and which we all think, may or may not be like Octo or Beldomic or whatever those places are. And those guys are leaving. Osha and Kymir are walking out. They're talking a little bit. He's trying to coax her into training with him, and she's like, nope, not going to do it. And he says, like, your sister didn't even hesitate. And of course, this is the big thing I think everyone's going to be talking about. Who is the character that pops his head out? And I told Mike I have a little trick I learned from the Force Center podcast. You guys get a chance to listen to them. They're really great. They don't know I exist, we exist, or anything like that. But Joseph Scrimshaw says he always puts on the audio descriptive.
Oh, yes.
So I threw that on after I got done, and it says a ghastly, elongated head comes around the corner. So that's got to be Plagueis, right? I mean, is there any way that it's not Plagueis?
Right. And I feel like so many people have been saying, is this leading up to him? And I don't know the timeline. I know other people have said, oh, it's this year, that year, however many years. Maybe. It very well could be, but I don't know the timelines like other people do. I'll admit that. Do you, Mike? Do you like
No, I don't. I was just telling Jimmy.
not the elongated head?
Yeah, I was just telling Jimmy before we got on here that I haven't read the Plagueis books yet, but it's on my reading list. I just haven't got to it yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. I have a book club, and we bounce in between like the old Legends books and like the new stuff, and we haven't gotten to many of the new things yet either. So
yeah. So timeline. I mean, I'm not an expert on this or anything like that, but Tenebrous should be kind of in charge right now, and then he finds Plagueis, and then Plagueis kills him, and then he gets. But Tenebrous is a Bith, and Plagueis is immune. So and it said elongated head, orange
so is it
eyes.
like the wrong alien, like wrong species?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm confused. I mean, I think I said this last week when we talked about. Actually, I think Jack and I cut it out of the episode on Tuesday that came out today, but that I thought that one of these characters would pop in out of the shadows for a second, just to know he was there. Okay. And that kind of brings me to like, was that the person that was controlling Chimera in the cave? How was it in there? But I'm just going to jump to this question because we have to really. More than one season. Leslie Headland has gone on record saying that this was going to be one season. It was going to be done. Now she had more she could do.
Right.
Is there any way after seeing this episode that you believe that? I mean,
there better be more.
You drop Plagueis. You end this episode the way it ends, and we'll get to it. I'm feisty right now.
Yeah.
There's no way, because I mean,
no.
I don't even feel like this season wrapped up. Like I feel like there's more questions than there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. I think I said a few episodes back, what I wanted to see was this season tie up nice and tidy, but still leave room for a second season. This season did not tie up nice and tidy. This season just led into another season. There was an ending, but there's so many things left on. It's kind of like this whole season. There's so many things. Every episode, I want to know a little bit more. I want to know a little bit more, which is nice to string you along, but it's really frustrating when you get to the end of a season and have that much hanging in the air. You got to wait. They haven't even started production on the second season, as far as I know. So how long is it going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a possibility that it's not a second season, but it's a completely different show that perhaps would then allude back to these happenings? I'm just curious, because if they've said it's going to be one season.
Yeah, there was talk about Eclipse, the video game Eclipse, possibly being tied into this. I heard this somewhere. I don't know. These are all rumors and things like that. Nemo, the VGC Nemo, he says this guy. I met him at Rebel Scum Con. He asked a ton of trivia questions, which I got I think all of them wrong, but they're pretty vague answers if I'm going to defend myself, because I usually do pretty good at Star Wars trivia. However, he did bring up a good point here somewhere, if I can find it. He says, and I thought this too when I saw the Senator Ray in court. I thought, is he a Sith? Is he the bad guy? Is he the one who's like?
We just don't trust the senators in Star Wars. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm trying to find where he wrote it, because he wrote a bunch of stuff here. And I thought to myself, is he going to be the bad guy? Like, is he the one who's like kind of setting the tone, like rewriting how they did Plagueis a little bit? I apologize for not being able to find this so easily, but here he goes, they think they may have changed up Tenebrous, and the black dude might be him. Yeah, they could have changed what species Tenebrous could be right there. Plagueis might have been the master to Chimera, because Chimera doesn't have Darth name yet. And he actually be the Acolyte. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but I think you're right, Kate. I just don't trust any of the senators when I see them, because I mean, they hide right in plain sight. But
well, and especially coming in and like questioning the Jedi, you're like, haven't we seen that before?
Yeah, sure. I put in my notes, this visually beautiful episode. I thought all the scenes and things like that were really, really good CGI. And then, of course, I don't know how you guys felt, but halfway through that, everyone and their mother is headed towards Brendok. Chimera and Bush are on their way. May and Solar on their way. Vernestra and the Cavalry are on their way. And I thought maybe Plagueis was going to show up there too. So I'm like, man, I got Old West style shootout. Then Chimera just disappears on us. And then how did we feel about that fight scene? Like, we got that big one in episode 5, and that kind of fed everyone. Was it better? Did you like the fighting in this more than, the lightsaber battles and stuff more than in episode 5? Were you satisfied with this battle between these guys?
I did like the fight scenes in this one. I thought they were a good length. It wasn't just a quick,
it wasn't Revenge of the Sith on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It went along for a good long while. It had some really cool choreography. It's good battles. I mean, not some really cool wire work and whatnot. I liked the kung fu between Osha and May. I like that there was a little part there where they're not twins, they're the same person, but there was like 6 moves in a row or so where they did the same exact thing to one another.
Mhm.
And I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, all in all, the fight scenes are I really enjoyed them.
Yeah. I liked how they definitely brought that Asian style Wazia style. Like if you're like watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or something like that, like that specific style. I really thought that was fun to pull into this.
Yeah.
Given that Star Wars was like kind of based on spaghetti Western, right? Like, and I thought that it was visually exciting, and it also kind of made you think a little bit about like, oh, what'd they just do? I loved the lightsaber being cut like by another lightsaber, the hilt. I thought that was really cool. It's just something I don't think we see a lot or think a lot about. So I enjoyed that. Yeah. I thought they had some good choreography.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with the fighting and just the overall battle. Some different things we haven't seen before. Of course, we have that. And then we get the sister fight, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if you guys picked up on this or not. We've only got to watch it once, but they were fighting the exact same way.
Yeah.
They kept doing, that was good choreography to make that fight scene happen the way they did. I thought that the CGI or the filming of that was pretty good because it really flowed between the girls. So it was like you could see both. It was a little bit better than Double Impact. Would you agree, Mike?
Just a little bit better than Double Impact.
Mike and I had a Jean-Claude Van Damme obsession when we were kids. So
yes.
But so what is
Jean-Claude Van Damme in Star Wars?
Oh yeah,
that is what we're missing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But so the sister fight, I said yin and yang because they're white and they're black.
Yeah.
And they switched places, which I kind of predicted because I said that you guys can talk about this a little bit too. May is driven by her love of her family and her sister, and she acts just like Anakin does, right?
Mm-hmm.
She comes across like the bad guy because she's violent and she's doing all these things, and it's not right, but that's her motivation seems to be family and love, where Osha seems to be pretty selfish. She's only thinking about herself, her own pain, things like that. And then you got them, and I didn't realize all of a sudden that they were just kind of sitting there, light side, dark side. They kind of switched outfits. How did you guys feel about that? What do you think about what I just said about them being? It's kind of almost obvious now, but with the way it ended. But what do you think about those two being a yin and yang? And then, of course, if they're the same person but split into two, because we did have a question here. You guys can dive into this in a second. So this is from Dan and Eric. Finally have a podcast. Congratulations, Dan and Eric. Why was May and Osha so important? They showed no importance. I don't think that was kind of what we were talking about, right? With more than one episode, more than one season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they are the virgins, right?
Or a product of it, or something like that is what I'm hypothesizing, right? Which the Jedi seemed very much like we need to be on top of this. We need to figure this out. Yeah, there's second season. Please explain some of this stuff. I am so glad that you mentioned the costumes, because like that was like, as I'm going through, I'm getting distracted by the story because I'm looking at the costumes, and like that was the first thing that jumped on me, is like, oh my gosh, they've switched clothes and one's dark and one's light, and yes, I love that. It felt very much like like Jedi, where Luke Skywalker is in black and you know which way he's going, right? So I liked that. I thought that was classic.
Yeah, the symbolism there was great. Other than, like, I earlier in the show, I couldn't remember who was Ocean, who was May.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah.
it didn't confuse you. But I mean, it really didn't confuse you. It just confused you when you're trying to talk about it, because you know, like in the moment, you know who's who. But trying to remember who's who, like you associate the name with the outfit and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good use of symbolism there, I thought.
Yeah, I was impressed. Like, and that, I don't know how, Kate, we haven't really got to talk to you about how you felt. I mean, you and I talked a little bit, on social media about how you were enjoying the season, and we're kind of in the same boat. We liked it. We didn't, there were things we loved, things we didn't love. But like this episode, it didn't answer a lot of things, but this is kind of what I thought every episode was going to be like. Like, I thought there was going to be a lot of things like this, and just kind of answering questions and giving us a few more questions.
Yeah.
So is Soul right or wrong? Is he right or wrong? Was he justified? This is tough because we're just coming off of this.
I know.
Was he justified? I mean, you sit and you think about how episode 7 ends. He turns and he lies to May, and then he lies to her for what, 16 years or 10 years, however long she was in the academy, and then she leaves and he's sitting on that information.
Yeah.
What do you
Mike, you want to go first, or? Because I got a lot to say.
Yeah, I have a bit to say too.
All right.
That won't be too long there. If they nailed episode 7 better, I think this would have played out so much better. He was in the wrong. I mean, the way they didn't, it's hard to really get across. He's definitely the bad guy. There's no doubt about it. And it's interesting seeing a Jedi as the bad guy. I mean, he lied, he hid things. They didn't build him up. Like, they didn't build up the relationship between him and Osha enough to make you really feel like he might have been right in some way. He just seemed like kind of a creep and kind of wrong, and I didn't feel bad that he went out.
Yeah, it was weird because I also wasn't like, oh, he died. I mean, I kind of expected him to go, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm so shocked right now. But yeah.
It reminded me. I mean, we're saying like don't get too political, but it definitely was some outsider walking in on. They're not indigenous. They came to that planet because they found it, but another culture, and telling them how to raise their kids, right? And just assuming based on their own, morals and beliefs that the kids weren't safe or that there was something wrong in that. And yeah, like that drives me crazy. And I thought that was really interesting. We're in this episode. He's about to, he tries to tell her it was my love for you, right? Which, I'm sorry, aren't Jedi not supposed to like have these connections? And I'm like, well, like, why can you justify that? And still, I don't know. That was just
well, I have one
like
of my
the layers of lies. I didn't love the Jedi in this, which I think was the idea, to like look at them from, to every situation. There's a flip side to the story, right?
Point of
to like
view.
look at them. Yeah. Which I think it's a very interesting way to. It's an interesting light to be putting on the Jedi right now. I think it makes it a very. I don't know. It's new. It's fresh. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with y'all on that. If they would have nailed episode 7 better, like, there wasn't enough to really bring that through. But I agree. It's nice to see the Jedi in a different light. Well, not nice, but it's interesting to see the Jedi in a different light.
It's thought provoking, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Nemo here says it's Soul's defense. He saw mother use the Force and the kids. I still don't understand what she was trying to do. Rewatching it, I don't understand what she's trying to evaporate. And May started going with her, and that scared him. That he was like, I don't understand what was happening in episode 7. I guess I did rewatch it. I liked episode 7 a little bit more when I wasn't dead tired, because I watched it pretty late at night. And but I still wasn't sure why I mean, and Nemo says it was a teleportation. That's a real slow ass teleportation. That
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was the same thing. I was wondering if she was trying to take May and like just get the heck out of there, like be like, you know what, this is heated. I'm taking the kid and leaving. And if that is because they kept their chanting was what the power one, the power of two, the power of many, right? And I was wondering if they had the ability to do that I don't know, that mist thing where they like dissolve, and if they could come together
as like one.
yeah, as like some sort of energy force and like transport that way. And that's one of the questions that we have left, right? But that was my headcanon, is that she was just merely trying to be like, we're leaving. This is getting too heated. And he didn't understand that and took it as a threat, right? When it wasn't.
Yeah, that whole episode is like one big misunderstanding, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so another one of my questions we'll get to as we're closing in here. Is it okay that the Jedi are flawed? I mean, to think that they're perfect, and you sit there and you think about, and I understand why people are upset, when you find out your role models, they always say don't meet your heroes and things like that because they find out. And I kind of feel like, now I do think this is another level, like for Nestra, something seriously, we'll talk about her in a minute, but
yeah.
There's some cover-ups, and even if Soul is saying like he's doing this because he loves May, and it kind of ties into this question: is Soul a bad Jedi? Because it seems like all he does is react emotionally, right? Because he gets into these situations where the Jedi are supposed to be calm, they're supposed to be in control. I mean, that's the whole training is not to let their emotions affect everything, and episode 7 was just one big giant emotional
emotional train wreck, right?
It's like the teenage kids I see every day, like just letting their emotions.
It comes back around to what the senator, like why he wanted to investigate the Jedi. Like these are individuals that have all this power that are supposed to be in control of their emotions, and they're not. They're flawed. They have this power that when they're not reacting, I mean, if they were what they claim to be and in control and always acting in control, then that power would be safe in their hands. But the power is not safe in their hands because they're human, they're flawed, they have problems. So that kind of power unchecked in people, it could lead to, things like Coven of Witches getting killed.
Well, and I have more of a gripe with, and when I say that, I'm coming from a place I love Star Wars, but the difference between how Jedi were portrayed in the Legends material versus how they were portrayed after episode 1 was very much like they were normal people that were these knights that were trying to protect people. Okay, now they're this really intense religion with a pretty strict dogma, like that, are trying to kind of be much more all knowing, all powerful. That's the way I interpreted it, and that is where my like, oh, Jedi comes from. Whereas like if you're not trying to control those emotions so much, you are leaving more room for accepting that, yeah, we're Jedi, but I want to say humans, but they're not all humans, right? But like we are imperfect beings, right? And I do think that they are supposed to be up on this level ever since, much more, I don't know, much more like this sinless monks, right? So yeah, I think that leaves a lot more room for them to fall, because like these simple emotions of connection and love and all that. And I often think, I'm like, don't they love each other? I mean, I love my friends. Don't you love your friends? Like, isn't that an intense connection as well? Or does just nobody in the Jedi Order like each other? I don't know. Like, so I just wonder about that. Like,
I do think for a lot. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I always say the Jedi are their own worst enemy because they just cause trouble half the time.
Yeah.
That's not to say that they don't have good intentions, but you know what they say about good intentions. So, Russell says, is the job of the Jedi to find people with the Force to control it that way, or is it for them to keep someone from using it for evil? Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly. Right. That's what this whole point of the show was, to make us all question things. I do think that, is this setting up the Rey movie so she can change things, right? Because you're seeing all stuff. the High Republic. Kate, do you read the High Republic? Have you read?
So I started one of them and I've not finished it, and I'm hoping that my book club picks up one of the books. I know some of the folks I'm in book club with have read a lot of them and say very good things. So
Yeah, it's good. I
I haven't
well,
finished.
I say that because like there's a lot of Jedi doing a lot of crazy things, and I mean I don't want to give anything away from the temptation of the Force, but they're a female and a male character. We'll just say that the temptation wasn't just in the Force,
Yeah,
but
right.
so pretty steamy scenes in
Getting
that. But
steamy Star Wars.
so like I feel like they're kind of setting us up as fans. You know, they're changing, not necessarily changing the narrative. Jedi are good guys, like good guys and women. You know,
Yeah.
aliens. You want to call them, right? They're just, as a species, as a group, they want to do good, but like even like Sidious says, you know, that's all from from a point of view, from their
Mhm.
point of view, and from Anakin's point of view, and from Obi-Wan's point of view. You know, they're all different, and bad guys don't usually think they're doing bad. They usually think they're doing the right thing, and no one
Mhm.
understands it. But, what did you think about OSHA turning the Kyber crystal? I mean, this is the first time we see someone bleed a Kyber crystal. So people who haven't read comics or didn't know this stuff, I mean, this is the first time I think we've ever seen it live action. I was
Yeah.
like, what is
Yeah.
happening? And it was turning red, and I was just like, oh my gosh! Like, so what do you guys
Totally.
think about that? And uh, seeing
Yeah.
that live action?
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. It leads into just the portrayal of the the evil or the dark side, or the however you want to phrase it. Yeah, she used the Force, she killed someone, but that someone that she killed wasn't really a good guy. um it was a cool thing to see. The effects of the effect was neat and everything like that. But it's interesting to see, like, she's not like Anakin, who just murdered a bunch of children. she
Yeah.
she took down someone who had it coming. I mean, if from a certain point of view, and transitioned to the dark side. And it wasn't like the ultimate evil. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
Mhm.
she's a twisted evil individual. Like, in the end, her and Kymir are holding hands, and like they're the
Mhm.
more rational people in this. So this is what I like most about this show, is looking at it from that different point of view. Like, the bad guys aren't necessarily the bad guys.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know why. I feel like I recently read that fact about how the red crystals were created. I'm glad I did. I don't know where it was, but I loved the process about how it was like kind of slow, kind of glitchy, kind of sparky, right? It wasn't like bam, red.
Mhm.
Like it
Yeah.
kind of took a little, and like when the blade was kind of both colors, I thought that was really, really cool. And I
Yeah.
do think it represented like the fact that is she really this all bad, all evil? She's not, right? Like she's not out to like dominate the galaxy like a certain somebody we know, certain couple somebodies we know, right? Like
Mhm.
she's done this thing, yeah, as like a retaliation and as a vengeance, which maybe is bad, maybe it's not bad. It depends on which point of view you look at it from. And I really like that. And you're right, like at the end, kind of when they're holding hands, I was like, oh, I mean, like it's a partnership, you know what I mean? Like it's not like
Sith
clearly they're working
Sith are
together. Yeah.
bound by
Sith,
those rules
Sith
that
want to make best friends.
yeah, more than friends. But so I mean that whole episode was episode 6. I mean, he's just the sexual tension between
Oh, yeah.
Chimera and, I mean, just in another level.
I was cracking up through that because I was like, wasn't everyone complaining that this was a show for kids? And I was like, are we still watching the same show?
I got 3 more notes here. I'm gonna throw them all out at you,
All
let
right.
you guys talk about them. So I put they are connected, Vern and Chimera. So when we saw the whip, his back, the whip.
Yep.
Again, I don't think that some of the storytelling is not like super clever, but they're connected. And that's another thing. Oh, we'll get into it. Why don't they all run? So we get to the thing where the twins are there. Chimera. Why don't all 3 of them just go? Like,
Right?
go and run, and then
I
finally,
know.
what the hell? Why is she doing this? Why is Vern lying and pinning this all on Soul? I did not think,
Yeah.
because this was a big talking point. I did not think she was going to pin this on Soul the way she did. Um, And that is, I hate to be one of these fans, but man, I want to know what happens from Vern at the end of the High Republic until now, because that character, something major has happened, because Vernestra Rowe is like one of my favorite Jedi, and for her to be doing this, it's hard for me to watch, but not knowing the backstory and things like that,
Okay.
I'm like, what is happening? So of course, talk to me about, Vern and Chimera. Vern and Chimera. Why don't all three of the twins and the Chimera just run away? And why is Vern lying so much? What do you guys think? Kind of wrap this up, and of course we have one last scene to talk about.
Yeah. Dang.
Well, like you said, Vern and Chimera. I mean, it was telegraphed. Once you saw the whip marks on his back, you knew that there was a connection there, and it was nice. I guess it was nice to see have our suspicions confirmed that they were connected in some way. And once again, what's the story? I guess we wait till episode or next season. But
right.
So that was telegraphed. What was the other question?
Why don't all three of them just run? The twins and Chimera. Why don't they just all bounce?
Right.
Like, why are we having a big, sad, emotional scene? And
I don't think the girls are 100% that they want to go down that path yet. May, I don't think she can go back to Chimera. She knows that that's not her path, so she can't. It probably means death for her. And Osha, I think she's still conflicted at this point, where she's not quite sure. I mean, obviously she turned to Kyber Crystal Red. She's on the dark path, but I don't think she's 100% sold on it yet. Plus they had to have the scene under the tree with the two girls.
Well, and she says, like, let my sister go. I think she senses that her sister's like done with it. And I was hoping this whole time that the girls would kind of switch. Like, I think that that's really, it's complex and it's interesting. And so I was really happy that happened. But yeah, I think she sensed that her sister's like, I'm out. Like, this isn't what I want. But she's like, well, shit, I just turned this crystal red. So what do I do now? Like,
it led to pretty good.
Figure this out.
Yeah, it led to pretty good.
And plus, they're like, the Jedi are not going to be happy that you just killed him, right? And she's like, "Oh, I'm on the run now." Okay,
that kind of settled it for her. I
guess. Kind of a very like the old Western movie themes of like, well, shot a man, better get out of town, like.
And there was a third question in there.
Yes, the wise Vern. It's just all because of this little bit lying.
Right.
She makes so out to be this bad guy. I mean, she says that he straight up kills.
Yeah.
I can understand manipulating the story to a point where you can tell the background and you can say that this girl, because why? I mean, she's got May. Why not just pin it all on May and say May's mind's been erased? Like, why is she throwing Soul, who's a flawed Jedi, but why is she doing this to him?
It's sort of continuing that narrative, isn't it? The Jedi, they're hiding things. They're not the good guys that we think they are. Just continuing down that path,
Well, and do you think that she's trying to recover both Osha and May, because perhaps she knows that they have some sort of this convergence or divergence or vergence, just vergence, this vergence power, right? Like, is she hoping that down the line they can get them back and bring them back in?
Like
and
do.
Yeah, right. And like that Soul's dead. No one's gonna know that is a tiny little package and she can work behind the scenes. And yes, be a bit manipulative, but aren't Jedi a little manipulative? Like, isn't that something they do?
Is it like they want to continue to explore the versions and keep this power, or figure out what this power is, or what this is, keep it in the hands of the Jedi,
right? So and then Jimmy, I'm curious about what your last question is, because I think it ties into my take on this. What's your last question?
Well, I wanted to talk about the last scene really was Yoda. So and
totally.
We have a precedent set in the High Republic where he kind of brushes some stuff under the rug. I mean, it's some dangerous stuff for the Jedi. I don't want to give too much away. People haven't read this stuff yet, but what did we think about? Because he's going to see right through Vern. Like, he's going to know that.
You think so? Because he's so powerful.
Like, I don't know. Like, how did we feel about her going to him? I
Yeah.
understand like the corruption being with Vernestra, and I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe she's feeling the pressures of the job, and
Mhm.
you always sit there and you watch a movie and someone does something, and you're like, why don't you just go tell the police? And it just
Yeah.
spirals on,
And it
right? It just
spirals, yeah.
gains momentum. So I'm kind of feeling I'm going to try to defend Vern like that. I'm going to say she's gotten herself into a spot where she just feels like she's got to keep doing this, but then she goes to
Yeah.
the powerful Jedi that we know of. And I mean, what do we think about? I mean, I kind of assumed that he would show up like this at the end
Yeah.
or something.
I I
I just
kept
think
seeing
about
comments of oh, sorry, go ahead.
no. What did you? Yeah, just talk
Oh,
about
well,
that.
I just this whole series, I kept seeing comments about people like complaining, like, well, where's Yoda? Well, when are we gonna see Yoda? Well, Yoda should be on the High Council. I'm like, clearly she's trying to keep this from the High Council because I think she's trying to be like, I got this under control. This is my job. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been in upper management before where it's like, whew, okay, maybe we're not going to tell like the top person about this. We're going to try and like work this situation before we go to them and be like, here's what happened and here's what we did. So you don't have to freak out.
Yeah.
Right. But I kept being like, I'm just waiting for Yoda to walk in and slap everybody upside the head and be like, you did what? Excuse me. And so I feel like she is kind of at that breaking point where she's like, I need to confide in you. What happened? That's what I'm guessing. Maybe she's not going to give him the whole story. But I think she needs his help to get the girl. Well, she's got May, but to get Osha back. That's
I'm going to
think-
say, are they involving Yoda just because they want to get more eyeballs on season 2? You know, the last thing you see is those furry little ears. You know, oh, Yoda's going to be in season 2.
Yeah.
Get more excitement towards the season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of masters on the council that could have
Yeah.
been Opo Rancist's Yarel Poof. Like, I don't know how many more of them live that.
Live that
Let me see what
long.
goes. Yeah, I bet Yoda knew what
Well,
happened.
what
Yeah.
happened?
Russell says, "Who is this person?" Russell, you're not going to So, but yeah, because then you bring in. I get it, showing flaws and things like that, but then you're going to. I mean, I guess some people argue that like Yoda ran away at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can't people who are like, oh, this Disney's not my Star Wars, blah blah blah, whatever. That was George Lucas who had him run away and fail
Yeah.
and everything.
And
So I guess
yeah,
I mean, there is
go into hiding and yeah.
Are we getting? I guess first we need to score this out of pips. So, how many pips out of 10 are you guys going to give this episode?
Oh man. I mean, oh gosh, it was one of my favorites. So I
Yeah.
mean, I would say like maybe a 9 for me. Obviously, there were a few little loose things, and I always wonder if that's just editing. So
Mhm.
I liked it visually and story. I think I got everything I personally wanted to, and I know it doesn't have to be for every person, right? Not every Star Wars thing is going to
No,
please every
absolutely
person,
not. Like
but
this is your
I was pretty
story.
darn pleased.
What about you, Mike?
I'm going to give 7. I love this series. I mean, it was a really good series. It's just, man, I really think they missed the mark in 7. I think there's things that they could have done in episode 7 that would have made the whole thing better. And that's tainting it for me. I had 7 gone the way that I envisioned it going, this episode probably would have been rated higher, because I think I rated every episode before this in 8 or above. So, I mean, this was a good episode. I really like the fight scenes and whatnot, like we talked about. It's right in line with every other episode other than 7. I just have such a problem with 7. So yeah, I go with 7 pips.
Yeah, I think they rebounded well. I still feel like I'm in agreement with you as far as 7 feels like The Last Jedi to me, where it was like doesn't fit in to the Last Jedi is a good movie, doesn't fit the beginning and the end of that story because it just. But I'm going to go with like 7.5 or 8 pips. I did really enjoy this. I thought the fighting was good. I like the fact that we got some details, even though when we learned stuff, we got more questions. But Yeah, I'm
Like
going
I
to go with
said,
that.
this whole season's been that. You know, you learn. You
Well,
get
every episode, it's like
little tease.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
like I said, you know.
7 should have been 3. Oh, yeah, you
Oh,
mean
like reordering? Yeah.
They could
Kinda
have
like
done.
a
They could have finished it all in episode 3. Episode
right.
3 could have just been a little bit longer.
Yeah, yeah. Kinda
And what do you
like Firefly where it was like they were actually put out of order of the
Yeah.
original like airing
Yeah.
order, right? Yeah. If you tweak the order, maybe it would have flowed differently.
Oh, man, yeah. So, are we getting, this TV show? Of course, we've got the ratings issues with, the bots. I mean, this is the most I've been involved with Star Wars. I wasn't doing podcasting. I wasn't doing this. I was just going and watching the movies and enjoying them, and not really thinking about the hate or anything like that. But this season has caused. I mean, there's a lot of fighting, and I mean, there was points where I've talked about it on the show before, where I'd be reading comments from people, and I just kind of got like depressed that people were talking this way. And Mike, you were on here when we were getting destroyed for being, people calling our sexuality to.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just so bizarre. Some of the stuff that they were saying to us and about Leslie Headland and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Are we going to get a season 2? Like, I mean, wait. Do you want a season 2? Are we going to get a season 2?
I definitely want a season 2, and I hope we get a season 2. I think this is an issue all across streaming that somehow the loudest voices carry the most weight. And it's not the people that are out there shouting hate that are really, that should be listened to. You got to cut that out. You got to cut the most passionate people out. You got to cut all the haters out. You got to look at the people in the middle. They got to find some better way to do the ratings and whatnot with these shows, because the loudest people make too much noise. It skews people that might be in the middle looking, if you go on the internet and see all this hate that's out there, you may decide, I don't want to watch that show. Somehow those people got to be quieted so that more people can give these things a chance. This is a good show. It's not for everybody, but it's a good show. I think a lot of people could enjoy it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't change internet culture, I guess.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I was actually talking with one of my really best Star Wars friends about that today. Like, is it just Star Wars that has these kind of fans? Is it just our fandom? We were kind of like hypothesizing why people go down that road and everything, and I don't have a great answer to it, but it's true. Like, I wish there was some way to amplify the middle of the road voices who are just a little more level-headed about something, right? Like it seems like
Yeah, because I mean,
those
it's
who
on
are
both sides. Because people were saying if you didn't like it, you were a homophobe or whatever. And
yeah,
those people are just as bad as
definitely. And we had this really good conversation. So like our little friend group, Burgundy Squadron, like we have this group chat going on in Instagram all day, every day. And like one of our buddies, Zach, is like has experience in like the TV film industry and really had a really good like was picking it apart, but going, guys, I like it, but this is where like from my visual standpoint, from my like from the filming standpoint, from the lighting, from like everything, this is what I'm thinking. I like it, but and he's like, there has to be room for that. He's like, I like the characters. I don't like how this 1, 2, or 3 thing is, but and that's okay too. That's fine. Yeah. I think when one side is, we're seeing this a lot, right? When one side is super loud and the other side feels like they have to be super loud, that really calm middle gets well, it gets like down in this bottom of this valley and you can't hear them, right? So yeah.
I think you guys are right. Hopefully with the numbers and things like that, Disney can see what's really happening. I mean, my only thing too is all these people who hate it, they keep watching it to complain about it. So the viewing numbers. I mean, I think this show was like second behind Mando or something like that. So I mean, if you're just based it off of views, maybe you're going off that. I mean, I don't know. Like Mike, I think you're right though. Internet culture is crazy. It's not. I want a season 2. I feel like, I mean,
Yeah.
personally, I don't believe
Gotta
like the
have it.
heaven wall when she said that this was one season and done. Like,
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way, right? Because you just end the show like this, like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
yeah, you're
Oh,
just
I was gonna
100
say,
years away from Phantom Menace, and then
yeah, right? You
We
can't
all.
leave us hanging like that. It's
Yeah.
too much of a cliff, too big of a cliff.
Yeah.
Or if they are gonna have some sort of like other further project that throws back to unraveling this mystery they've just left, I could see it sort of like that. But I would rather have these characters and watch them and the actors. I
Yeah.
loved the actors. I thought
Mhm.
everyone portrayed their character really well.
Yeah.
I
There were
enjoyed
some
it.
people.
So
Yeah, there's some people that ate it that I would have loved to have had around for longer. You know what I mean?
I
Like
know.
there's some really
I
good actors in this.
Overall, I was so shocked
Yeah.
when a whole bunch of people were gone. And I was like, wait, what just happened? Aren't they the main people?
Yeah. It's sad. But yeah, I know I said before, I think the last show I was on here, I was hoping for a wrap up kind of like the Bad Batch. Where the Bad Batch wrapped up great, I thought.
Mm.
It had a definite ending, but it left it open for another season. You know, they could follow the adventures of Omega if they want to.
Mhm.
Where this, nothing was wrapped up. It was not not really satisfying ending. There's
Yeah.
you have to have a season 2. If we don't have a season 2, it's you're gonna go out of my mind. Like
Yeah. You're gonna live in fan fiction forever.
I'll write it myself.
Yeah, write your own. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, is there anything left that we haven't talked about that you guys want to talk about with this episode? I think
Gosh.
we've covered a lot of it.
Yeah,
We
I think we
did.
covered it.
Hard to do it when you've only seen it once. What's that, Mike?
I know.
Yeah, I think we've covered it pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. I'm actually about to go watch it again because my husband didn't watch it with me. He was putting the little guy to bed. So literally when I hang up with you guys, I'm gonna go start this all over again.
Yeah, it's just prime time now for you.
Yeah. 8,
Really past my
17. Yeah.
bedtime.
Oh no.
Well, all right then. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat for
Yeah,
joining
good
in and talking.
comments.
We couldn't get to all your guys' stuff. We have lots of good feedback in here, and man, I'm going to look through that. And hopefully, when Jack and I go live on Thursday, we'll talk about a lot of the things you guys asked. But Mike, of course, thank you again for joining us. Basically,
Absolutely.
like co-host now. I like that. We'll see you for Skeleton Crew, I'm sure.
Awesome.
And then Kate, thank you for coming in on the very last episode and helping us
Absolutely.
wrap this roller coaster
Yeah.
of emotions.
Try to wrap it up, right?
Yeah, try to wrap it up. So really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell everybody one more time where they can find you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm on Instagram. It's One Scavenger's Wardrobe with underscores in between the words, and yeah, I'm on there all the time. And then with my podcast with Billy Maddox, we are Off the Rack Rebellion, so you can look us up.
All right. Yeah, I'll try to put the links for that on this thing so people can click on those and find you guys. And you can't find Mike anywhere on social media because he doesn't have social media, which is probably smart.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good life.
I'll say Raymond said this series is good. I don't know why many Star Wars fans don't like it. Yeah, Raymond, I'm with you. But Ed says, see you Thursday, Jimmy. We're looking forward to talking to you, Ed. Ed, aren't you in Great Britain? Like it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
My God.
Anyway, so just want to thank you guys both. Mike, thanks for coming on for so many episodes and helping me out. Kate, awesome meeting you.
Excellent.
I really
Thanks
want to have
for
you back
having
on the show sometime. We'll talk some stuff.
Absolutely.
And again, for everybody and everyone in the group, thank you so much. And we will talk to you guys all later.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank
Here's
you.
the awkward part where I tried to end the stream and it doesn't work out well. Everyone's staring at us.